All right, so this one is about wireless charging of all things. So this is a random thought about microwave and Bluetooth and the video I put up on TikTok of all things. So it was about magnets. So it's like, well, magnets can definitely change like the IP address, or like hardware ID or like the IP signal, kind of thing, and it can be seen even though you're posting it, so on, so on. It doesn't really matter, and it's like it would work because people can kind of understand that like this account posted this, but because of internet traffic, blah blah, whatever it is, right, happened to make it so some bots liked or followed or commented more on that than something else, because some bot program and how they ultimately interact with the people that are there making posts. But it's like then it turned into like, well, with Bluetooth and the wireless charging on the back and then like sending it through as it goes through like a router, then you'd get a different signal as it would constructively and destructively interfere and change into a IP address signal, and that would act like the version of a magnet, electromagnetic force that I was trying to get across for the reasons why magnets work. Because it's like, well, it's like this is the thing that does this, and then there's this whatever bullshit, and then it goes through like that, and align, spin, coherent, resonant, fucking destructive field stuff, and boom, now this thing over here suddenly lights up and says, I know that that's going on, and I definitely can use and work with that, and so on. So, you know, so it was like, okay, but then it's like it eventually steamrolled into like, remember when they had, this wireless charging stuff? They were like all gung ho about this Bluetooth. It'd be on this fucking phone case that they'd put on, and then it was like, it was a high energy, fairly kind of wireless but you'd have to be in a given area for it to work. And it was like, oh yeah, no, but where did that go? And it's like, well, then Wi-Fi charging kind of started to try and become a thing, and they were like, oh, we needed the right material. And it turns out like they could actually do genuine Wi-Fi charging, which then turned into like, well, what about microwaves? We already know microwave, and then it was like, but they're very, not efficient. And then they were like, oh, here's another study. It turns out it's more efficient than it was previously believed. And then it was like, oh yeah, okay, and then it kind of just petered out because it was like, so around that time, people were like, we're gonna destroy cell towers, and people that are smart, that were like, we're gonna try and bring it to market and everything, were like, these people seem to think that radio waves are going to kill them. And it's like, yeah, I don't know if I could sell people on microwaves that are beaming to their phone. And then when you look at their original kind of prototype concepts, the phone case, they're pretty big and bulky, but of course that's always prototypes, but then that's not going to be the greatest sell to some people. And I was like, why don't you just use the two, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi? And turns out Wi-Fi is not really, you have to make new routers. ISPs have a pretty strong stranglehold over that given market, and then Bluetooth is, well, it needs a new module if you want to do it directly with your phone instead of with a phone charger. So it's like, this is the bespoke phone charger for the wireless, and it's only in really kind of this kind of maybe 5 foot at most area, and so it's like, And then the microwave, it was like, well, okay, so we can make it, we can put a couple of panels on the top of the ceiling and then in the corners. And it's like, you could do it, right? It's like you think about it for a little bit, and then it's like, well, if that's probably the reason why I didn't get very far when you really consider that kind of stuff. But then the other part of my brain went to, there's other issues with this. It's like it needs to constantly send a signal of its accelerometer data and every position it's in within this given area that it's constantly trying to figure out where it's at. So it needs to have like a little tracker on the case for it to always be able to know. And then since it needs all of that, it's like, oh, it's kind of burning electricity to do that, and it's not as efficient as you would expect because like you don't always have your one side that's trying to collect the damn microwaves, and so that kind of put a little bit of a kibosh on like the technology, I feel, and so it was like, well, I could then make it to warm my cup of coffee, because that's easy. I could just put it there, wireless coffee cup heating, just anywhere. Leave it for a few seconds, same temperature. Just put a fucking couple of thermal cameras around. It's like it's good to go. Fuck it, I don't care. And it's like, what about people in really cold weather? And it's like, well, there's graphite clothing, I guess, that you can, or charcoal infused stuff. But at that point, it's like it's going to be more insulated anyways. So it's like I'm not really sure that would be worthwhile if you really think about it. You know what I mean? And so it's like, okay, so then that's kind of maybe why it never really got anywhere. Is that part of the wireless charging kind of side of things, especially when it's like, well, for radio waves absorbing it, and it's like, well, those are not the easiest things sometimes. Like as far as I'm aware, that's like radio wave technology that they use on aircrafts to be like, I'm not here, and I don't know if they want to put that on phone charger cases. You know what I mean? As much as we would love it, I'm like, yeah, so we're gonna sell top secret fucking like material essentially to a bunch of people with phone cases. I don't know if it'll go over very well, then it's like IR, and it's like, no, that's like a piezoelectric case, and it's gonna get warm and it has to cool, so it's like that's probably not the right call either. I, but it's like, okay, yeah, I suppose it's doable. Like you get the Wi-Fi, the Bluetooth, and the microwave. Then maybe you could get it to do it efficiently enough. Although you have to have like a router that goes from your ISP to that thing that does do that, with a case that does do these things. I don't know. It's a real hard one. I feel like at that point, like you have to manufacture, you have to sell the darn thing, you have to fucking market the thing. But then there's this FCC problem because they're like, no, microwaves bad maybe for people, and some people might own that given spectrum. So you have to pay them if you want to use it. And it was like, what the fuck? Wait, what? And I genuinely just kind of went, fucking capitalism for a bit, man. Like, seriously, because, like, that's literally what it would be. It's capitalism that caused that problem, you know? And so it was like, I don't know. There's not really kind of a way to get it to go through, like, your phone very easily, you know? So I suppose I could put it around the edge, but then like you hold your phone. But it's like it's a very interesting technology. You know what I mean? Like I love the idea of wireless charging because it's like electromagnetic spectrum wise, we can turn like because we were talking about magnets. It's like, well, if I make the right resonance with another given and the pulse frequency, which is what Wi-Fi does, it then creates an electromagnet. It creates a magnet in a given material, and then they collapse it from that given field into a bunch of wound coils kind of a thing, and then they amplify that with power coming in from the wall, and then they transmit it. So like that's basically all they're doing to make a Wi-Fi range extender, and so it's like there's definitely a way to do this, but it's like, yeah, but like, I effectively strap another router to my phone case. It's like, where's the extra power for the amplification? I need fucking 5 volts and the right amps and current. Like that's probably not going to be the easiest sell. So it's like combining some of them would probably be easier. It's I don't know. It's clear we've been using it for a really long time. You know what I mean? It's such an interesting idea. right? And it's totally something that can be done, right? But it's also that other problem of like you manufacture it, you have to make it reasonable and cost effective, but also actually charge a phone fast enough. Like you can't just like, oh, I stood still here for 5 minutes and I got a bit of a charge. You know what I mean? Like, sure, when you sit down or whatever, but people do move in their homes. You know, and I don't think that it'd go very well if that was the case. That being said, for a given area where that's fine, then yeah, it's fine. You know what I mean? It's like I could charge my fucking computer. Like I could literally run my computer that way with the right like little, pad that it just collects, and it would be just fine. I mean that. Like some of those things already kind of exist, but it's also one of those like, well, so I will make wireless for TV, okay, or monitor, right? And then this is the Li-Fi, so light transmitting and receiving signal. So that way I don't have to worry about cables anymore. Just like fucking screw it. It's IR or microwave or some shit. And like it can be built into behind the panels, so that way it'll go through and it's gonna be fine. And now I can just like no longer need these cables everywhere. But I've been thinking about it for like a while on PCBs, for like fiber optics and field effect pins, that allow for transmission of a given signal from a CPU, GPU, whatever it is, faster to these areas that they need to have that signal, and I can make it more compact as a result. Which is really where I ended up going to with the technology, because it was vastly easier. And like, it's in the computer and it's away from us, and we're not going to get hurt by it, right? No, you will not. Okay, like you get that part. And it's like that's fine, probably, right? Same thing with in your home. Like for most people, it would be fine, right? But it's like, does it charge it enough? And that's the real fucking problem more than anything. Yeah. I don't know. And I thought about it too for like other little things, like eating food at a dinner table or powering your lights in the walls. You know, instead of it needing it to be screwed in with a light bulb or have this light stand, so on and so forth. Um, just because it's easier. You know what I mean? It's honestly pretty easy for like these little less power. Like I wouldn't do it for like a washing or dryer machine, but I can feasibly get away with like a few thousand watts doing that. As long as, especially if it's close enough, and I'm not gonna have to worry about it. You know what I mean? So it's like that's probably fine. But then it's also like it's technically speaking more efficient. Like if I allow for and I mean this, just the right shape, and I allow convection to produce a natural like heat rising and then a degree of pumping as it goes through because of the Venturi and Bernoulli's principles working together to create that sort of a thing, carbon infused fabric, then it's like, well, all I need is this stupid, well, it's not stupid, but it's a microwave kind of thing over there, and it'll fucking just do it like I have an radiative heating, lamp, but it's now tailorable, right? Like I don't have it like it's this amount, and it's a little hot, man. Yeah, I can just here's like a 2-degree increase. I'm just gonna do a 2-degree increase. I feel like that'd be, in many aspects, much more reasonable. Especially when it's like, well, I have a ceiling fan. I could just put this to a ceiling fan, and then I could warm the blades, and then that'll do that. You know, as a space heater, right? So that'll work. Uh, I'm tired, obviously. I can't really come up with a decent way, of making the microwave. Like, there is reflective materials, but then it's like, I have to have, like, reflective materials everywhere. And I don't like that. You know what I mean? And same thing when it comes down to, this is for, like, a cell phone, or like a laptop or something, which some of them are made out of magnesium or aluminum for their chassis, and that's not very great for having that actually charge them. So it's like, I'll just stick it over there. And I removed the wall wart from the wall, but I still have this fucking dongle to charge my phone because it doesn't fully work only with a phone case, which means it's like more bullshit I have to carry around, and I don't really want to do it. So, I don't know. Then it does allow for Li-Fi, and it does allow for more accurate charging and so on. So it's like, yeah, whatever. That's been this. I have to pee, and those are the no sleep creative thoughts done. Bye.